Today, I'm going to be talking about this. Recently, well, not recently, in the last 6 months, I've packed on 15 pounds. My weight sits, or I sit comfortably around 160 pounds. Right now, I'm at 175. And I am not someone who obsesses over what the scale says. Not at all. However, I do listen to my body, and my body's not comfortable right now. My body is screaming, specifically my joints, more specifically my knees, are screaming at me to get the weight off. So if you're someone that has never known or has wanted to know how to figure out your own personal macros for weight loss, and that's just macronutrients, protein, carbs, and fat, then follow along. I'm going to show you from start to finish, and I'm doing something called carb cycling, where I have low carb days and high carb days. You don't have to make it, I don't think it's that difficult, but if you think it's that difficult, don't do low carb and high carb. Decide on one thing, and you'll see here in just a second. So this is where you're going to want to start. You're going to go to TDEE.com, and that just stands for Total Daily Energy Expenditure. And that's just basically how many calories you need to eat on a daily basis to maintain your current status, your current everything. And these are the questions that it's going to ask you: your age, height, weight, activity level, sex. Be very honest about your activity level, because that's going to help determine your caloric intake. My number's sitting at 2153. I'm looking at my iPad over here. And remember, my goal is go from 175 to 160. I'm doing a low carb and high carb. I'm carb cycling. You don't have to. But for my low carb days, I want to eat in about a 25% caloric deficit. And high carb days, I want to eat in about a 10% 10% calorie deficit. Here's my final numbers: 1615 for my low carb days, 1938 for my high carb days. Once you get going, this sounds like it's difficult, but once you get the hang of it, it's not really that bad. And there's my numbers: 1615, 1938. So we're going to go to the next page and start breaking it down on how to figure out the exact macronutrients: protein, carbs, and fat. One important thing to know is there's 4 calories in 1 gram of protein and in 1 gram of carbohydrates. And for fat, this is how people easily overeat. This is how I easily overeat. I stuff myself with fat and carbs and everything else, because fat tastes really good. Fat is what makes food taste so good, and carbs. So let's get to figuring out my low carb day first, and then we'll work on the high carb day. I was talking too fast, I guess. I could have sped this up, but anyway. All right, 2153 was my number. Remember, low carb days, I want to eat in a 25% calorie deficit. That gives me 1615. High carb day, I get more carbs, but guess what I get less of? Fats. Anyway, we'll figure that out in a minute. Just reminding myself that my goal weight is 160 pounds. General rule of thumb is that you want to eat 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. I'm going by my goal weight, which is 160. So that tells me I want to eat at least 160 grams of protein on a daily basis. And I've done this in the past. And some days that's very hard to do. I'm also making videos of my daily eating and my progress as well. So to check my numbers, I want to multiply 160 times 4, because there's 4 calories in 1 gram, and I get 640 calories. We're going to want to know the calories too, but it's 160 grams of protein. Low carb day and high carb day, the protein stays the same. So for carbs, I want my carbs to take up about 20% of my diet, or of my calories for that day. So 1615 is my number. I'm going to multiply that times 20. I get 323 calories, but I want to know how many grams or how many dollars. I'm going to start speaking in dollars because that's how I know, that's how I budget my macros. I have $81 to spend in carbs on my low carb day and $160 in protein. Fat is always going to be your remaining calories. You're going to add up 323 calories and 640 calories and subtract that from the 1615 that I got. And that leaves me with 652. We're going to divide that by 9 because there's 9 calories in 1 gram of fat, and I come up with $72. So my final numbers for my low carb day is $160 in protein, $81 in carbs, and $72 in fat. I'm going to add up my calorie numbers just to double check my math and to make sure that I come up with 1,615. And there I am multiplying times 4 times 4 times 9 for the fat, and I come up with 1612. I'm perfectly okay with being $3 off. Not going to make that much of a difference. So there we go. Again, $160, $81, and $72. And to me, 81 grams in carbs is not doing low carb. It's just a lower carb day that I can't wait to get to the high carb day because I get so much more. But you got to trade off for the fat because it's when you get big numbers in fat and big numbers in carbs, that's where weight gain happens. So again, $160 across the board in protein, 1 gram per pound of body weight. For my high carb day, I want 50% of my calorie goal for the day to come from carbohydrates. So that's 1938 times 50%. I get 969 calories or $242 in carbs that I get to spend. I'm so excited about that. Fat is the remaining calories. You add 640 calories and 969 calories. You get 1609. You want to subtract that from 1938. And that's going to give you your remaining fat calories. And because there are 9 calories in every gram of fat, you have to divide that by 9. So 329 divided by 9 is 36.5. Did I round that up to 37? Maybe I didn't. So my final numbers are $160 in protein, $242 in carbs, and I did not. $36 in fat. And I'm just double checking my math here because, just making sure that when I add up all those calories that I come up with 1938 or somewhere very close to 1938. Did I? 1932. I'm not worried about those $6. It's close enough. So just to get my final numbers again, they're right there. I'm just circling. I love GoodNotes. This is GoodNotes, by the way. GoodNotes is where I do all my to-do lists and note-taking and pretty much everything. So there's my final numbers again. And again, like I said, I like to think of money when I am budgeting my macro choices for the day, my protein choices and my carb choices and my fat choices. So just for an example, if it's 11 o'clock in the morning and I'm eyeing a donut, and that donut is going to cost me $40 in carbs, and I've only got $81 in carbs to spend for the day, I am not, absolutely not, going to spend that $40 on that donut when that only leaves me $40 to spend for the rest of the day. So that's why I like to think in money when I'm dealing with macros. An example today's Monday. I've actually been doing counting macros for, this is my third day. Today's Monday. Did I already say that? I used Saturday and Sunday as like a trial run period because it's like riding a bike. Once you've done it before, and I have done this in the past, it's like muscle memory. It starts coming back to you. But I wanted to use those 2 days as a trial period. So today, Monday, was my first official day of counting macros. Yesterday, I was almost right on the money. Saturday, I was a good bit off, but I wasn't too worried about it because I was just trying to get back in the swing of things. But for example, this morning, today is my high carb day. You kind of trade off carbs for fat. So if I have higher carbs, today is my lower fat day. I had grits, 2 packs of grits, eggs, which I used egg whites for lower fat, and 1 whole egg. But I am so used to cheesy eggs, like soft scramble, really cheesy. So once I put my cheese on the scale, a full serving of cheese was going to be $10. $36 is what I have to spend in fats for the day. And it was 9 o'clock or 8 o'clock in the morning. I absolutely was not going to spend 10 of my $36 or 30, whatever the number was. I absolutely was not going to spend $10 of my little 30 something on some cheese. And I put on the scale half the serving of cheese, and it was just ridiculous. It wasn't enough to even spend $5. It was barely noticeable. So that's when I say I like to budget my macros. So I hope this helped. If you have any questions, I will do my best to answer, but you can follow along. Today was day 1. So far, I am this close to hitting my macros perfectly for the day. And the day is halfway over. So follow along. I am recording this day by day. I'm doing a progress picture once a week. I've got my first week progress picture already made, and we'll see how this goes.